Alright, let's jump right into this. Welcome to the Don Divine Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for going to view my first show. Now tonight's going to be more of a serious show. I'm going to be talking to couples tonight. And the title of the show is Long-Term Relationship Tactics. Alright, let's get right into it. Relationships, long-term relationships. First, you have to decide with yourself if that's what you want to be in. You know, a lot of people rush into relationships, for a number of different reasons. And, just to be in a relationship, they never really sit and take the time out to really consider if they want to be in an actually serious, committed relationship. And if they're ready, if they're ready for marriage, are they prepared for a long-term relationship? How prepared are they? These are some of the questions you have to ask yourself. We have to take relationships more seriously. I know in this day and age, and with the media and technology, relationships and marriage are not taken as serious as they were back in the day. Relationships are not taken as serious. Those values weren't instilled in us from the last generation. You see, it's a generational effect. Concerning the poor significance we place on long-term relationships and marriage nowadays. And so we don't really take long-term relationships seriously. So the first tactic will be to take relationships more seriously. And by serious, I mean to really think about them. If you have a journal, you can really write out your feelings and thoughts and emotions concerning other people to develop an empathy within yourself. You see, because that's the reason, that's the root cause of why relationships aren't taken seriously nowadays. Because there's a lack of empathy. There's a lack of compassion. Everybody's on some selfish shit right now. Nobody's really considering another person's feelings, or not even considering other human beings. People are real self-centered right now. People are really, black folks are real narcissistic right now. We see that the president is black. We see rappers throwing around all this money in videos. You see black folks doing a lot of things that they didn't do in history. And so that got a lot of black people on some narcissistic shit right now concerning themselves. They don't feel like they gotta do shit for nobody. We're real arrogant right now. So like I said, the first step is to develop empathy, which is understanding emotions, another person's emotions and feelings and thoughts, and just understanding another person, feeling how it would feel to walk in their shoes. That's the definition of empathy. There's a lack of that. But when I say tactics, and why I use the term tactics with relationships, is because when you take relationships seriously, naturally You should become more strategic about relationships. You have to take it serious on that level. You want to get strategic about it. You want to get strategic about another person, the person that you're in a relationship with, or the person that you want to be in a relationship with, male or female. You want to become strategic, a strategist. Meaning you want to get inside that other person's head, that other person's mind, and see what makes them tick. You really want to understand that person that you're in that relationship with, and not for manipulative or scandalous reasons, but you just really want to understand that person. You want to get inside that person and really understand them, so you can be able to fulfill what you need to fulfill in that relationship for that person. But you really want to become strategic, because once that romance stage dissipates, which is at the beginning of a relationship, that's when reality sets in. That's when you're not high off of the other person's positive attributes. You start to recognize some of their flaws and some of their negative attributes. Reality sets in. And instead of you becoming emotional about it, you control yourself and you deal with matters in a strategic way. You want to start thinking strategically. You say, hey, okay, I see this person's strengths, and now I see this person's weaknesses. Let me figure out how to deal with this person in the less conflictual way as possible. Let me figure out how to deal with this person. Let me get inside this person's mind. Let me get inside this person's heart. Let me to understand them. Let me understand why this person have this weakness. You don't want to judge them for their flaws, and you don't want to judge them for their weaknesses, because everybody has them. You know, once the romance stage of a relationship fades away, you do not want to become judgmental and critical, because like I said, everybody has their own flaws, and you don't want to play the holier than thou role. And that's what a lot of people do in relationships. Typically, the person who has more or feel like they're bringing more to the relationship, once the reality sets in, they start to play the holier than thou role and start judging the other person based on their flaws, instead of accepting that person for who that person is. Now, with long-term relationships, you have to change. The key to long-term relationships is to change your perception of them. You know, we don't have a good perception for long-term relationships. See, in Hollywood and in movies, they just focus on the first part of relationships, the romance stage. They just focus on falling in love. You know, songs and movies and television shows, they just focus on a romance part. They idealize the romance part of relationships. TVs, movies, and television shows, they don't idolize the long-term aspect of relationships when reality set in. If you really sit back and think about it, man, Hollywood and movies and songs don't really promote long-term relationships. So this is why you have to be strategic about it. This is why you have to really think and use your head as far as a long-term partner goes. You really have to be thinking and figuring out things, man, and calculating things. Because like I said, long-term relationships are not promoted like that. Now, one thing you want to consider with the long-term relationship, you want to consider if the person is long-term relationship material. Now, I can go all into that. I'm going to go into that on a different video. How to determine whether or not a person is long-term relationship material. Because a lot of people are not long-term relationship material. Let's just get that out the way. I know you want to have a loving and kind heart that wants to look at everybody as long-term relationship material. You know, some people are very loving like that. Some people are very kind-hearted like that. You know, a lot of my fellas have on rose-colored glasses when it comes to that. But like I said, man, everybody is not, every woman, every man is not long-term relationship material. And that's just the reality you want to face. And you have to think strategic like that. You have to see that. You have to catch that. And it's a lot of different reasons for why somebody may not be long-term relationship material. One of the main reasons a person may not be long-term relationship material is if they saw growing up as a child a bad example of a long-term relationship. See, that's why you have a lot of marriages going bad today, because you have a lot of people who have bad examples of long-term relationships. You know, either their father was an alcoholic and beat the mother for years, or the mother was an alcoholic and the father was henpecked for years until he finally decided to leave. You know, there's a number of negative examples for long-term relationships a person may have seen, and so subconsciously they reenact those relationships that they saw growing up because it's just most familiar to them. They feel most at home with that. Because you got to think, one thing about human nature that you have to keep a mental note of is that we do not like to travel outside of our comfort zones. It's a human tendency to always take the easiest route, the easy way out. That's innate in all humans. It's human nature. So if a person saw a real bad long-term relationship growing up, a dysfunctional relationship growing up, subconsciously they're going to reenact that. And so that's not the person that you want to get yourself involved with. And then you have those people out there that are masters of long-term relationships. You know, they may have grown up seeing dysfunctional relationships, but they were able to not be distracted like that and do to that dysfunctional relationships drove them to become a psychologist at an early age. You know, they might have saw their mother and father arguing, or their mother always unhappy, or their father always unhappy. And as a child, placed those needs of that parent before theirs and became a psychologist at an early age to figure out how relationships work, what it takes for a person to be happy in relationships, why my mother isn't happy. They basically figured out everything they could figure out about relationships. They really went about studying people and studying the minds of others at an earlier age to try to help their mothers. It's something the child does. They kind of put their childhood on hold, or they miss out on childhood to accomplish this. It's some deep stuff. Now those people are masters of long-term relationships to a fault. They can be that to a fault because they'll stay in a long-term relationship to the point of abuse. Those are the people that will stay in a long-term relationship, or they'll stay in a serious relationship with somebody even after it becomes abusive, because as a child they became obsessed with relationships, trying to help their mother or father. And see this, so these people grow up being very needy. They grow up becoming very needy and emotional because they weren't able to get those needs met that they were supposed to be getting met in childhood, because they had to sacrifice their childhood in order to learn psychology. You don't want to get involved with those people neither. Those people become psychopaths. It's some deep stuff, man. Don't let me go over your head. I'm gonna start doing shows, more basic shows, because what I'm talking about is kind of real advanced. But I'm gonna start talking about. I'm gonna do different shows just on the fundamentals of the game first. The basics of the game first. But I really wanted to throw this advanced stuff out there about long-term relationships. Because I was watching I think it's the show where Tretch from Naughty by Nature is on there with his wife, and they just on there. Their relationship is just so dysfunctional. It is so dysfunctional. And it's really just making black folks and relationships, it just looks like we don't know what the fuck we doing. So that's why it was an emergency for me to do this show. I had to knock this show out. Before the fight tonight. I had to knock it out. Okay, let's get back to it though. Now, you wanna determine if a person is long-term relationship material. And I'm gonna give you 5 ways for you to determine that. This ain't even the tactics. See, this I'm giving y'all so much game right now. This is not even the tactics, the 5 tactics that I'm about to give y'all. And I'm going longer than I expected I was supposed to be going. But let me hurry up and get this out the way. This is 5 ways to 5 things to look for to determine whether or not some woman is wifey material, and if a nigga is hubby material. Number 1, stress management skills. You want to see how well they manage stress. So the next time you with your significant other, your girlfriend, your boo, the next time you with them, peep them out when they get stressed out. And take note of how they handle that stress. If they overreact to stress, that's a bad sign. Number 2, emotional maturity or maturity. The biggest mistake you can make is getting into a long-term relationship with somebody that's immature. That's dating suicide. Number 3, confidence. It takes a lot of confidence in yourself to maintain and believe in a long-term relationship. Because with confidence, you will feel that you're worthy of a long-term companion. You won't feel like once this person gets to know the real me, they'll see something in me that they may not like. You know, you're not insecure like that. You have confidence. You you believe that you can have a person for a lifetime and have them still feel the same way they felt about you when they first met you. That's what confidence does. And that's what you want to look for in a person, is confidence. A long-term relationship with an insecure person is torture. With the jealousy, the possessiveness, the abuse. That's all where the insecurity manifests. Number 4, and this is a very important one, a very important quality you want to look for, and that's a stable personality. Is the person stable? Are they committed? Do they have a committed personality? Are they stable? Can they commit to something? A lot of times, a person who's unstable, they've never committed to anything in their lives. And if you study their past, you'll see that they never could maintain anything long term. And you will see that by their lack of stability. They might got kicked out of a bunch of different schools. They might have been thrown around to a bunch of different foster homes. They might have bounced around from a bunch of different relationships. They just have an unstable past. That lack of stability signifies a lack of security, which is basically insecurity, which was the last quality that you want to avoid. And then number 5, you want to look for a sense of fairness in the person. Does this person have a sense of fairness? Do they play the game fair? Are they true to the game? Are they fair? You don't want a person who's unfair. That person's going to take you for granted. That person's going to take advantage or try to take advantage of you. This person is going to be ungrateful. This person's going to be real shady, dirty. So you want to look for a sense of fairness. And one way you can do that to test a person's fairness, there's a number of different ways you can test a person's fairness. They got I think they got the door check. See if the person opens the door for you and all that. Those are good tests. But one test where you can test a person's fairness is see if they're a sore loser. If they're a sore loser, they don't want to play it fair. They don't want to give you your props. That's a way to tell if they're a sore loser. Play a video game with them, or play a card game, or play dominoes with them. And this might seem petty, but this will reveal a lot about a person's character. And what you want to see and monitor when you play these games with this person is, how does this person respond to losing? And will this person start cheating? Even if it's just a game. Does this person start trying to cheat? Or if the person cheats in that goddamn game, they're going to cheat with your ass. Okay, let's get to the 5 tactics. Like I said earlier, you want to be strategic. And when it's concerning long-term relationships, you want to be very strategic. You want to be thinking like a military general. You want to be strategic. It's like war. And the 5 tactics, let's get into them. Number one tactic you want to develop in yourself to maintain a healthy, long-term relationship that's exciting, fun, exhilarating is to be one way tactic is to become a great storyteller. I mean, you want to show your ass when it comes to telling stories about whatever, something that happened in your day or about something in your past. You want to be real adventurous person. Be a real adventurous person. You want to come across as a real adventurous person. And you want to be entertaining to a person. Being entertaining is the key to a long-term relationship. Not just in relationships, with customers, with an audience. You know, as a lawyer, as a judge, you know, being entertaining works all across the board in all facets of life. You can't lose by being entertaining. You can't lose. And the second tactic that's going to keep a long-term relationship spicy is to be a freak. And you know, you gotta be a freak. That'll keep a long-term relationship popping. You gotta be a freak like that. That's what keep things exciting. You won't get bored. See, freaks don't get bored. Freaks do not get bored when it comes to. I know you might get the misconception about a freak, or if a person is a freak, you know, they want to sleep with a lot of different bunch of people. No, if a person is a real freak, if you really tap into that freaky nature within you, one person can become 20 different people. That's if you really tap into that freakish nature that lies unconscious within you. Y'all gonna have to pay for that game. The game is sold, not told. Number 3, the third tactic is you want to be strategic and you want to create experiences. Get out the house. Get off your ass and create some experiences. You want to create lasting memories. Go out and do shit. Stop spending your money on bullshit. Stop getting high and drinking with your significant other and think that's gonna keep y'all together in the long run. It take more than being high and drunk with your mate. Not that saying that that's bad, you know, to each his own. You know, I don't drink or smoke, but to each his own. You know, that might work. I mean, for a while, but it will not work for the long haul. So save your money up, man. Stop spending all your money up on shenanigans and start going places, man. Y'all start having fun. Number 4, maintain lightness. Maintain a sense of lightness. Because, you know, we have a tendency to take things more personal and to take things more serious the longer we're with a person. We all have a natural tendency to do this. We take things hella personal, real serious, overly serious, the longer we're with a person. And you just want to maintain a lighthearted attitude. Nagging and complaining is not going to get the person to do what you want them to do. You can't force someone to do what you want them to do. You want to maintain the right spirit. You know what I'm saying? Game is what's going to make them want to do what you want them to do. You don't have to nag and complain. So you nag and complain when you run out of game. Number 5, the fifth and the final tactic, before I have to start charging, I'm just kidding with y'all, man. I love y'all, family. I love y'all. Number 5, the 5th tactic. I'm gonna spit game all day. The 5th tactic is to don't lose your identity within the relationship. And a lot of women do this. A lot of women define relationships as doing this. And you have to change that, man. Y'all have to go back and you have to reprogram that shit and not define relationships as that, ladies. And a lot of my guys who are more of the soft, sensitive nature, they do this as well. And you don't want to lose your identity. That's the 5th tactic. Not to lose your identity. Because then you lose what it was about you that made that person attractive to you. And you want to keep that. That's how relationships lose their spark, is when you lose your identity. So you want to give each other space. You don't want to smother each other. That's counterproductive. Like they say in the game, how you start is how you finish. How you keep a person is how you caught them. And so you don't want to lose your identity based on that rule of the game. Holla.